So just a real quick thing about Domo. We actually don't really specifically focus on marketing. Marketing is one segment of what we do. This is just going to be a 10-second sales pitch right here, right? So what we do is we're a business optimization software. It sounds like a bunch of jargon. Just take it as it is, right? But today, what I want to talk about is what's really important for all the people in this room, specifically you as a CMO or the head of digital or head of the marketing. What I'm trying to talk about is what is the definitive guide for you to activate the data that you're basically awash in, right? Before I get into that, there's a couple housekeeping things I want to go over. One is there's going to be 0 bullet points on here, right? So it's just going to be me talking and telling you the facts. Number 2, no acronyms at all, so you don't need to learn about any new acronyms at all, right? And finally, no abstract, right? So it's going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple, giving you, from our perspective, specifically Domo, what we think you need to do in terms of harnessing basically the sea of data that your company aggregates. How do you actually use that and actually turn it into information? So we've been in business for about 7 years now, quite a long time. In fact, our CEO or founder was a guy named Josh James. Before that, he founded a company called Omniture, which probably most people in here, if you're below 20, 30, you probably have no idea what it is. It's a web analytics software, and he sold it to Adobe, so it's part of Adobe now. But he started about 7 years ago, and we talked to a lot of marketers, whether it's in the US, Europe, or Asia. And we asked them, look, if we ask you this one question, in one day, what would you love to have? And the interesting thing is, predominantly, I would say almost 80% of the CMOs we talk to, their answer is this, is one day, they would love to have a single view of the customer. It was crazy. It was almost every CMO that we worked with, whether it's MasterCard, eBay, National Geographic, yada, yada, right? This was really their aspirational goal, is to have one customer view of their customer. And the interesting thing about that was the way they position it was almost like aspirational, or it was almost like it was a fantasy that they know they will never be able to get that. It was almost like, just give you a couple of analogies. It'd be almost like this horse who wants to be a unicorn, and his way about doing it is putting a cone in its head, right? Very aspirational, very theoretical, and will never happen. Or another example is, if it's in 2017, which we're on 2017 right now, you're a Nokia handset, and you would have one customer using your handset. Or you're this guy, right, living in your basement, right, and on the computer, hunched over, and you don't want to be single. So it was kind of mind-boggling, like these CMOs who are really powerful across all these Fortune 500 companies, the sole thing that they really wish they could have is one customer view of their customer, right? And when we talked to them, we said, well, you actually have that already. You have that single customer view. The challenge is you're just awash in all the different information that's going from all the different inputs, from all the different systems, and all the different tools that you're using, right? So you're getting information from your marketing databases. You're getting information for e-commerce. You're getting from demographic data, yada, yada, et cetera, right? You're just awash in this. So you have all the right tools to get that one customer view, but you just don't know how to make heads or tails of all this different data. You don't know what's actual good information from just noise. So we told them, just keep calm, right? Really just kind of calm down and just take a step back and continue collecting all the data you have coming in. Well, then they come back and say, the challenge is the data in terms of is becoming a tsunami. We're getting more and more information. And as an example of this is an infographic that we at Domo came up with. You can see the volume of data that's created every minute of the day is insane. And so just calling up a couple interesting tidbits, Apple users are downloading 51,000 apps a day. Snapchat, they're doing 284,000 snaps a day. Amazon gets about 4,000 brand new visitors every single day. The volume of data is effectively, from the CMO point of view, they're just drowning in data. They are literally dying and drowning. They can't grasp for any air at all. And from our point of view is, whoa, it's a little drastic. We don't think you're necessarily drowning. I think that's the wrong analogy because when you think you're drowning of data, it means you can never recover, right? You're basically dead. And we think the right analogy is you are lost. You're lost in a forest of data. So the trees in here represents the different data sets. And you are trying to basically find it, organize it, and make insights out of it. So how do you do that, right? How do you do that when you are lost in a sea, or excuse me, it's not a sea, but you're lost in a forest of data? And this is how you typically used to do it, right? You basically use, whether it's a library, you turn trees into books, you organize it, you index it, you put structure to it, right? You take your existing data and you just basically index it and put in the relevant structure to find that information. Now that only solves one problem, right? Which is now you can actually find your information and you know where to get it, but that's only half the story. That's just still, again, just data. So we went up to, the other challenge is, you can find all this data and maybe it'll give you a single customer view, but you as a CMO, you may have actually a broader remit than that. You as a CMO have to worry about offline, online, lead generation, sales. Your single customer view may actually encompass a lot more stuff than you actually think of. What about inventory? What about procurement? How does your sales team impact your lead generation, or how does your lead generation impact the amount of sales you get? How's your inventory level? If you don't have enough stuff to sell, then how do you know what to market? So just because you have organized your data doesn't necessarily mean that you have the full perspective, right? And this is where we really kind of emphasize is, as a CMO, you got to know more than just your marketing facts and marketing tidbits. There's other sources of information you actually need to know. Skip that. So the second part is you need visibility into things that actually matter, right? So AKA, you need insights, right? So the first thing, just to reiterate, is you need to make sure you organize your information. The second thing is you need visibility into things that actually matter. And the third thing is you really have to tell a story for your data, because without a story, it's meaningless. It doesn't capture people's attention, right? So this is kind of a cheesy chart that my core came up. It represents the Star Wars movie in terms of attention capture, right? But the gist of it is really when there's challenging moments of data, that's where it creates actually insights for your organization. So let's put all this kind of theory into actual practice, right? So what is the net takeaway from what myself and what Domo sees are solutions you actually need in order to tell a story of your data? The first thing is you need what we call a data warehouse, right? And a data warehouse is where you aggregate all the different data from all the different data sets you have. So if I go back to that analogy of walking in a forest of data, this data warehouse is effectively your library. It organizes the data that you have. It could be from your CRM, it could be from your marketing automation, it could be from your app download, it doesn't matter. Whatever data you have, you need it in a scalable, centralized database that's easy to access and make sure that the response time is quick. This is actually a lot harder than you think, right? So this is a really big part, and it's expensive as well, but until you actually centralize your data from all the different data sources you have, all these additional steps I'm going to talk about is pretty much useless. So you need a data warehouse, right? The second thing is, and you've probably heard of this concept, garbage in, garbage out. Just because you get data in a data warehouse doesn't mean anything unless you can start taking all these different data that you have and normalize it and harmonize it. Whatever taxonomy you have for click-through, clicks, impressions, views, whatever it is, develop a dictionary, a taxonomy of the metrics that you define your campaign from. Usually what you want to use as a tool for this is, I will use one acronym today, unfortunately, is you need a tool called an ETL process. And an ETL is a really simple acronym. It basically extracts the information from your data warehouse. It transforms it. So again, whatever definition you have for views, whatever definition you have for site visits, whatever you define, it transforms it and makes sure it is applicable to your definition, and then it loads it up into the relevant system, right? So you need this tool. It's an ETL tool, takes all that data, harmonizes it, normalizes it, and makes it usable. And the third part is once you have all this data and once it's harmonized and transformed, you need to be able to actually view it and collaborate on that insights. So whatever tool you guys use, whether it's HubSpot, Tableau, whatever tool it is, whether it's Domo, it doesn't matter. You do need a centralized place that allows you to view and collaborate on insights. This doesn't happen on email, right? It's impossible, right? It could happen on Slack. It could happen on, whatever, Yammer. It could happen on whatever it is. But you do need a centralized tool that allows you to collaborate and view insights in that. And I think the last part is all these combined, a data warehouse, the right tools to transform and ETL your product. The third one, to actually have insights and collaborate, finally tells the story of your data. And this is what means the most. This is just one quick example from what we used from one of our customers. Was they did that whole process of combining all their different data sets, and one of the data sets they combined was weather data combined with point of sale data and their HR system. And the story was really simple. When they combined these three different disparate data sources together, the story came out was, if it's raining in the next 2 weeks based on the weather data, they know that their sales are going to go down, and therefore automatically they need to have less waiters and waitress within their F&B location. It's as simple story as that, right? So I hope I kind of given you some insights into it. I really want to leave with this is, look, we are definitely awash in data. I gave you that infographic where every minute we're getting so much indulged with so much information. But you won't sync from that. You just need to basically take the 3 tips I mentioned before. Get the right data warehouse, get the right tools to transform that, and get the right place to actually look at it and make a story from your data. And if you get those all 3 together, then you'll be able to basically have insights in your business and basically perform as required. So thank you very much for this.
Christian, thank you very much. We appreciate it very much. You guys give Christian a hand for that. Thank you, Christian.